Gary, garden geek here at Gertens, and we're going to talk about ornamental grasses today. Ornamental grasses are the easiest plant in the whole nursery to grow. They don't get insects, they don't get diseases, you don't have to do a thing to them all summer long. They grow fast, starting out at 0 and can go up to 6-8 feet in one season. Give you a good color, and the nice part is you can get some sound when they rustle in the wind. There is one thing that's required: full afternoon sun. Don't try to grow ornamental grasses in the shade. It just doesn't work. They will get weak and they will get knocked over by a heavy wind, or even a rainstorm can all knock them down on the ground. Plant them early as you can in the season so they get established. I don't recommend planting past September. They need a month or two to get their roots established before the ground freezes. And if you're planting now, water them regularly. It's very important. Also, you have to keep watering anything you plant now right up until the ground freezes, which could be in December. Now, you're going to put your hoses away on Labor Day and say we're all done, but you're going to have to go out on your new plants and dump a bucket of water on them about once a week until the ground freezes, probably mid-December. So, a fair warning. Well, let's run through the different types here. People hear about big blue stem. That's what was on the prairie with the buffalo, and you hear about it, the up shoulder height when the pioneers went through. And then there are two types: big blue stem and little blue stem. Big blue stem will give you a good 6-7 feet of height after a couple years, and little blue stem will get probably a maximum of 3, maybe 4 feet. Little blue stem is a nice vertical grass. It looks good with other plants. I highly recommend little blue stem in a garden. Big blue stem works best in the background and where you can appreciate a 6-foot high grass. Then, of course, we have the calamagrostis grasses. That's Carl Forster. That's the one you see with the wheat, and you see it in front of every doctor's office in the Twin Cities. It's a cool season grass. It starts growing as soon as the snow melts, and that's why people like it. All the other grasses are warm season, and the soil has to be 50 degrees or thereabouts before they start to grow. But Carl Forster gives you an early start. Again, is probably the most popular grass in the world. It has proven itself as a mainstay in the whole gardening world because it is vertical and none of these grasses have rhizomes that spread. The clump will get bigger, but they don't spread. Carl Forster again, the most popular because it starts growing earlier in the season. Then we have some shorter grasses. Prairie dropseed, as you can see, is very fine and dainty. Probably maximum of 3 feet with the wheat on it. And gives that, in your garden you want different textures, and prairie dropseed gives you a nice light loose texture next to a plant with bolder leaves. The
flame grass,
which one?
Miscanthus.
Oh, the Miscanthus. Everybody comes in asking for pampas grass. Pampas, they go to Florida and they see these 6-foot high grasses with these big plumes on them. Pampas grass does not grow here in Minnesota. The closest we have is the Miscanthus. It's a Japanese grass or a Chinese grass, comes from Asia, and it does have plumes. Very attractive, and gets about, the flame grass will get about 4 feet high, and silver fader gets about 6-7 feet high. Both of them very attractive, but as I said, they come from Asia, and the problem is if you have 2 different kinds, like silver fader and flame, in your garden, the seeds, they will cross-pollinate and you will have viable seeds. And so you could end up with additional plants that you didn't want. In some parts of southern United States, they are now being viewed as invasive plants. All right, finally, the mainstay of the American prairie is the switchgrass, and it comes in sizes that go from about 3 feet to maybe not 5, but a good 4. This one is Shenandoah. It gives you a wonderful red color in the fall, and others will be blue and or a very strong green. The seed heads on this look like pepper. And one thing that we have in the mornings in the fall is dew, and a drop of dew will be on every one of those pepper seeds of the switchgrass, and when the sun shines on it, it is spectacular. Again, about 4 feet, maybe 4.5 feet high. There are many other grasses that we could talk about, but in this limited time, maybe we better leave it at that and answer some questions.
Yeah, I have some questions. So when you're talking about the clump getting bigger, is there a certain point where you divide it, or when do you know how to?
When the plant will grow out from the center, and you eventually, maybe in 5 years, you will get a dead spot in the center, and it'll look like a donut in the spring. That's when you want to divide it. Just take an axe, because the root system is quite heavy. Take an axe, chop it in half, dig half out, and you have 2 plants.
And is there a certain time of year? You said spring.
Oh, spring is when you want to divide them, yes.
Okay, yep. And you answered this before, but so looking at now, can people still plant grasses?
You can plant grasses now. Like I said, you have to keep watering them. I would not plant past the end of September. It gets, our weather is too flexible at that point, and the grasses need two months to get their roots established, and October doesn't give it to them.
Gotcha, yeah. So for planting them right now, how much water would you recommend?
Oh, once a week.
Once a week, okay.
Yeah, if they can get an inch of water a week, they'll be fine. Just keep the soil moist.
For this time of year, do grasses attract pollinators?
Oh, pollinators, switchgrasses and others are where the butterflies, and prairie skipper, and I can't remember the other names now, do lay their eggs in there and do overwinter in the grass. You want to leave these grasses up through the winter because critters all live in them, and you want to give them a home. Cut them down in the spring. But butterflies particularly will overwinter in the switchgrasses.
And then for cutting them down, do you have any tool suggestions or ways to do it?
A hedge trimmer is the easiest.
Yep.
You can use a string trimmer, you know, the string that if you don't have too many, or just a hand pruner will work also. You want to cut them down, do about an inch above the ground, and try to do that before it starts growing. You don't want to have green grass growing in the spring and then cut it off. Cut them down before they start growing. The Karl Foresters, that's going to be in March. They will start as soon as the snow melts, but the rest of them are warm season grasses, and you've got to probably until the 1st of May to get them cut down.
And then speaking of cutting them, or the dried grass, can you use that for mulch?
Oh sure, I would figure out how to chop it up, maybe run the lawnmower over it so it's nice and mulchy, rather than I mean, some of these are going to be, you know, pieces of grass that are going to be 4 feet tall. So if you run the lawnmower over them, you can chop it up. Makes good grass, good compost.
And then we talked about this a little bit, but one of our viewers has a question, and David asks, what's the best time for cutting back?
Oh, in the spring. Like I say, Karl Forester, the day after the snow melts, because it starts growing right away, and the rest you have until about the 1st of May.
Someone else has a question, and they ask, my Miscanthus doesn't look very good right now. I've been watering it.
Oh, this is a tough year. The drought has really slowed all plants up, so yes, you probably should have been watering it. Oh, another thing, don't fertilize ornamental grasses. That makes them get very fine. The stems can't hold themselves up. So no fertilizer for grasses, but do water them.
Perfect. Another question, can you grow grasses in containers? If so, what special...
Minnesota winter in a container, not a thing. I mean, it's the freeze-thaw cycle is just too much for most plants. I have seen grasses all in containers and they look great. But to be honest with you, as long as they won't overwinter, I would use an annual grass like purple fountain grass.
Okay.
Oh, some people have asked about mixing plants with other in their gardens. One of the best ones is to put things like sedum and like a little blue stem together, or even bringing in a Asclepia, the butterfly weed. This is a good combination right there for your garden. And even many of the switchgrasses and little blue stems have a bluish cast to them. So mixing with a reddish foliage works very well. Or of course, the butterfly weed always looks good. You can't try to mix the foliage type. Sedum has big fat leaves, and the grass, of course, is finer, so that texture looks very nice.
Gary, we have another question from one of our viewers, Bonnie. She asks, if you're supposed to cut them down in the spring, doesn't that disturb or kill the eggs of a butterfly or the pollinators sheltering in the grasses all winter?
That's why we wait. The Karl Forster, I don't believe, is home to any particular butterfly. Switchgrass, I know, is. But switchgrass, we don't want to cut down until May, and they should be out of their winter home by then.
Yes, hopefully.
Well, very good. I'm happy to have anybody come visit us. I sit here under my umbrella and chat all day long. Come to Gertens and say hello.